Hey everyone, welcome to the Smiling Homeschooler Podcast. We're glad you can join us. As you can see, we have a special guest who we will introduce in a minute. But before we begin, I do want to say thank you, as always, to Teaching Textbooks for making the Smiling Homeschooler possible. We couldn't do this without them. They're an amazing partner and an amazing math curriculum. And if you haven't checked them out, or if you're thinking about what you're going to do next year, what changes you're going to make, head on over to teachingtextbooks.com for a free trial. And we also want to thank Samaritan Ministries and Redeem Health Share, where members are committed to honoring Christ, and they are a community of Christians that pay one another's medical bills, helping families take a safe step of faith as they feel God's leading in career or ministry changes or in bringing mom home. And you can learn more in the show notes or in the Facebook comments about Redeem Health Share by Samaritan Ministries. But Dad, if you're ready to go ahead and get started, let's go.
We are. This is really a special podcast because not only do we have a special guest, but we're adding a third Wilson to the podcast, even though Katherine, who's my third child, she married someone who's not a Wilson. So this is Katherine Petgen. So Katherine, welcome to the show.
Wow, it's official.
We're going to start off with this because at our house, we've just started our March Madness bracket. And what we're doing is we're doing Disney villains versus heroes. It's kind of like a face-off. We're going to see who's the best at the end of it. But Katherine has put in our first bracket of villains, she favored Clayton over Ursula. Well, and I just want to know what the thinking is behind that. And in case you don't know who Clayton is the villain in Tarzan, the animated series, or the animated movie. So why would you ever pick Clayton over that?
Well, Clayton is the bad guy, like on Tarzan, like you just said. Ursula, obviously, is the bad lady on The Little Mermaid. I feel like Ursula's a little overused. She's always the one that, she's in the parades and the shows at Disney World. Her voice is like on the fireworks or whatever.
Iconic.
That's exactly
Clayton's
right.
a British aristocrat.
He didn't even sing a song.
Clayton, he's
I
kind
admit
of a
it in
little
the
bit
past
like...
I've been a nasty. What songs does Clayton sing?
You didn't say which one is more iconic. You said which one would you pick.
Okay.
So I feel like he's a little bit unique. He's not your typical Disney villain. He's a little bit like, at least at the beginning of the movie, if you haven't seen it before, you might not know he's the villain. So he's a little bit of a twist, which I kind of like. And I don't know. I feel like Ursula's a little overused, a little overdone.
Okay, there you got it. That pretty much tells you Katherine's personality.
He's also the only one that dies by hanging, so that's pretty cool.
That's true.
Caught in
well,
some
Ursula's
vines.
Impaled, so I'm not sure that's better for the children.
Well, I'm not gonna tell you about Katherine yet. Or maybe I'm not going to ask her to tell her about herself because we've done that in past shows. She's married to Josh Petgen. We're not going to talk about him yet because he's my son-in-law. We're not going to really dwell on him too much because he was a public schooler. But she's got two adorable kids, and just recently, Ben and Katherine and I were at the IAHE Homeschool Convention about a weekend ago, maybe a little longer than a weekend ago now. And maybe I'll get both of your thoughts. Ben, what were your thoughts of being at a homeschool convention again?
It was super fun. I mean, I hadn't been to one in a couple years, and it was a great event. I mean, it felt energetic. It felt busy. In the event, it looked like your sessions were busy, and it was just really fun. It felt back to how it used to when we were kids. I just love interacting with people, getting to meet some of our listeners, meet a bunch of homeschoolers who are all in the same boat, like we always talk about. And it was just a really, really fun time. And the hotel was beautiful. It was at French Lick, which we've said, Indiana, which we didn't know anything about, but it's really beautiful down there. So we had a really fun time, and the kids had fun swimming and, staying in the hotel and everything. So I loved it. I thought it was a really, really good event. And it seemed like there was a lot of first-time convention attendees there too.
And before I let go ahead.
Nope, go for it.
And before I let Katherine talk, it was just so much fun watching Ben, be the dad in the booth, because I mean, it just took me back to the old days where I just spent most of my time being mad at my children.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, our booth was trash, had food all over it. The kids were,
everywhere.
Can I walk around? And it was so much fun. It felt good. It felt just like the old days. Our kids were even, Ben's kids were under the booth, just like our kids used to do, under the tables. I don't think they took naps, but they were using it as like a fort, and it was super fun. Katherine, what was your thoughts?
Well, Ben was living his best life. I don't know if I've ever seen him glow, but he was glowing in the booth.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it was so fun. I loved being back. I think my last convention was probably when I was maybe 20. I think I went to a couple with you guys, so that was 9 years ago. And yeah, I thought it was so fun to be back in it. It felt like old times, especially since Ben and his kids were there and Maggie was there. So it just felt good to be back, from a vendor perspective, but it was also fun. I've never been to a convention as a mom before, so that was different. Looking around at things wow, maybe I want to look at some of this, and maybe I want to use this with my kids. But the convention itself, like Ben said, was high energy. It felt like people wanted to be there. They did a great job organizing it, with food for everyone, which I thought was super easy. And yeah, I thought they did a great job. I thought it was a great convention. And yeah, French Lick was super fun. Never been there before, but the hotels, there were 2 hotels in little town of French Lick that were beautiful. And yeah, it was just a super fun weekend. We loved getting to experience it as a family.
Honestly, it felt like the hotels probably had a bigger population.
Well, that's kind of a good
whole town. I don't know. It was a
Yeah,
crazy
they
little
did.
town.
Yeah, probably did. Well, that's kind of a good lead-in maybe to this show, and we're going to try something different. We're going to add Katherine to the mix just to see if she can give us a little bit just different perspective, maybe keep us in order as we continue this. But even as from her perspective, as a young mom, as a future homeschooler, past homeschooled kid, and maybe what would you even tell a mom who's not been to a convention? What's your thoughts on why they should go?
Yeah. Well, I think if you haven't been, you should go. Especially if you're thinking about homeschooling in the next couple of years, or maybe you're new to homeschooling and you haven't been yet. I think there is something so different in being able to flip through curriculum and look at options and talk to people who are passionate about their product in person. It's just different than online. Online, you're kind of just getting a one-dimensional perspective on everything. And it's so unique when you can really talk to them and see it in person. And then just having the option to listen to speakers who are they're excited about what they're passionate about, and you getting to just kind of sit and listen and hear from them in time that's dedicated to that. I think, at least for me, it's hard to spend a chunk of time just filling yourself up to homeschool your kids. And so I think paying the money to go to a convention and making that a priority will fill you up and give you more to be able to homeschool your kids better.
100%. Especially, again, this resort was really fun. They had a great price for people who were staying there. So, maybe check your state. It may not be at a place like that, but if you're down in Florida, it definitely is. So I think it was a great way to just kind of have a fun little getaway. And I talked to lots of couples there who were doing that, or families who were, staying for the 3 nights or 2 nights or whatnot. So I definitely recommend it. And a couple weeks ago, we actually had the one of the people in charge of the Colorado State Convention. So if you want a whole episode dedicated to conventions, you should definitely listen to that. But Kat, you were homeschooled. We all were, obviously. anyone who's listened to this for more than a week, knows that. But what are, when you look back, what do you remember about homeschooling? What are some of your favorite aspects of it? And was there anything you, I guess, maybe even didn't like, but give us a little insight into your homeschool journey?
Yeah. Well, I loved being homeschooled. I was trying to think of something I didn't like about it, and
the bullies were pretty bad, but outside of that,
the what?
The bullies were pretty
bullies,
bad.
Yeah. Hey, some days it's true. But yeah, I think one of the best things about homeschooling is just having the time to explore your own interests, which as a high schooler, even younger than that, I loved writing, and I just had the time and the opportunity to pursue that in a way that I wouldn't have been able to if I went to regular school. So I think that is awesome. We all really had the opportunity to explore our interests And so I think that was really cool. Um, and obviously because of what dad did, we traveled the whole country in an RV together. So we got to see things that, most people only get to read about, which was awesome. And we couldn't have done that if we weren't homeschooled. And then just having the flexibility to kind of learn the way that God made you to learn. I watched my mom homeschool each of us a little bit different, based on what our interests were and where we were struggling or where we were thriving or what we loved or what we hated. And I just think that's such a beautiful thing in homeschooling, that you have that flexibility to just adjust as you need for each different kid.
Well, because I want people to kind of get a flavor for you, one of the talks I gave over the weekend was the 4 homeschool personalities, and we talk about the different ones and we've talked about them on the show. And in fact, we have a test. It's been a while, but we have a test on our website, so you can kind of go and check this out. And we even have a new book out that it's not out on the website yet, but it should be by the time you listen to this on a podcast. But there are 4 personalities. The falcon, who's kind of the driven, she gets a lot done, very focused. The owl, who is kind of the researcher, thoughtful, always wondering if she's doing a good enough job. There's the swan, who kind of serenely glides through homeschooling. She kind of does it because it's the thing to do. And then you have the sandpiper, who's the fun mom, who just is all over the place. Which kind of mom personality are you?
I feel like you don't really need to ask this question. I feel like you both probably already know. But I'm definitely an owl through and through. I don't think I even needed to take the test for me to know I was an owl. Yeah, just like I really want to do it right. I care so much about like my reasons why and wanting to make sure like we homeschool to the best of our ability and give our kids the best that we can. And yeah, pretty much the description of an owl is me.
Which, we have found, like, which this is something, if you ever go to a homeschooling convention and we're there and you've taken the personality test and you know which bird you are, you can come up and ask us for a free sticker. We'd love to give it to you. You don't have to buy something else if you don't want. Obviously, we love that too.
But if you do want to buy something else, exactly. We're sure happy.
Exactly. But I know there's some moms who sometimes would come up and be like almost apologetic. And it's like, no, we want you to be able to get the sticker. So come get the sticker. And they're really cute. They look great on on your Stanley or whatever other brand is currently in popularity, but
which will be a different one tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But the owls too tend to be probably the most common. Falcons are usually like that. Type A is. This doesn't mean you're bad. It just means if everyone was a falcon, it'd be an intense world out there, and that's in everything, so, and if everyone was a sandpiper, probably a lot of stuff would, be accomplished in terms of building bridges and things like that, but so you do have kind of like those two sides. And then the middle, I think there are a lot of owls that do homeschool, which, so, if you and your friends take it and multiple ones of you are owls, that's not a shocking thing. I think that's pretty cool to see that there are definitely a lot of owls, but it's always funny when someone would come up and be like, I'm a swan, but I want to be a whatever, or I'm an owl and I really want to be a falcon.
Everyone
or
wants to be a piper.
It's so funny. I actually saw one lady, she was a piper and she wanted to be a falcon, which I was whoa,
I'm just like,
that's interesting.
Yeah, right. Might as well try to be taller.
Yeah, exactly.
I think in our family, the pipers might have the majority, at least amongst all the sister-in-laws. Maggie and Rissa and probably McKenna.
But maybe that's because I was going to say, no, that's not true. I don't know.
I don't know about Kara.
Yeah. But so how do you think that's going to affect your homeschooling as you're starting to, again, you have little kids, and we always talk about this is not, having to be super rigorous and strict about homeschooling right off the bat. But how do you think that's going to change your approach to it?
Well, I'm a bit of an overthinker, so I think that's probably going to impact my homeschooling journey. And I think owls just really want to do the right thing and make the right choice for their kids and for their family. And I think sometimes that can lead to overthinking that choice. Addie, my oldest, is 4, but a lot of my friends in the area, they all have kids around her age. Everyone's kind of like dabbling in the homeschool waters, and so I feel like just starting out, even though she's so little, there's already that like pressure to like start out well and do things the right way. And so I think there's good that comes with being an owl, and that you do care a lot and you really want to make the right choices, and you're going to be really intentional with your kids. But I think you also have to surround yourself with some people who are owls, or like in my case, Josh is really good at like helping remember that she's 4 and we're not going to ruin her at 4, and that there's a lot of freedom and flexibility in that, and there's not the need to overthink it and over worry about all the options yet.
Totally. Well, real quick here, we do want to take a quick minute to thank Teaching Textbooks for helping make the Smiling Homeschooler possible. And Teaching Textbooks is just one of those things that's just a no-brainer for our family. It's been so impactful. It's fun. It's engaging. It makes learning easy and simple. It's very independent, but you can also, do it with your child if you want. I know Riss has been working with Renly on some of it recently, just so that she was making sure she understood everything she was doing. But you can do it from pretty much any device, so it's super easy. You can take it wherever you are, and they're just an amazing company. So if you haven't checked them out, you should. You can do that at teachingtextbooks.com. If you go to a homeschooling convention, they're going to be there as well. And if you do end up using them, just let them know we sent you over. But we really appreciate their support.
And a special thanks to Redeem Health Share by Samaritan Ministries, which our family loves being members of. It's Christians helping Christians pay for their medical burdens. With March Madness upon us too, take it from me that you won't be disappointed to consider this a slam dunk option for healthcare, and your family will feel taken care of. Click on the link in the show notes to learn more about Redeem Health Share by Samaritan Ministries. Hey, Kat, too, and maybe we'll just kind of, because we're kind of running low on time, I wanted to ask you something that I heard you talking about with Mom, or maybe the girls. You're trying to figure out when to start homeschooling with Addie. What are your thoughts? What are the dilemmas? You kind of mentioned it already a little bit, but what are you thinking?
Yeah. So I was just asking Mom when she started homeschooling us, because I think the pressure, or like the overall theme, is younger and younger. I don't know if it's every generation or every 10 years. I feel like the kids are getting younger. There's pressure earlier. My kid's reading at 4. My kid's reading at 3. My kid sings the alphabet at 18 months, and you start to feel like, wow, is my kid behind? And so I think the pressure that I feel most right now is knowing inside me, we don't need to do all the things yet. That I think it's great for little kids to be running and playing outside with each other, with friends, learning in every single thing they do, all the crafts, all the activities, all the games, because they're learning so much, and she's soaking up so much. But I think there's the temptation to feel like, okay, but this isn't a book, right, or this isn't something I can, mark off or kind of parade in front of someone else to make sure she's checking the boxes. And so I think the pressure I feel is wanting to wait. I think we've all probably heard the statistics of like, oh, they're best, it's the best time for them to learn to read at 7, or in this country they don't learn to read till they're 8. And so we hear those things and we know those things, but then we still feel the pressure to start young and start younger and younger and younger. And so I think what I'm kind of trying to do, and what Josh is helping me do, is like, it's okay to wait, to not force all the things at 3 or 4, and to let her develop, let her learn. And obviously you can still like slide in all the things. We still work on a workbook every now and then if we're bored and need something to do. But I think I care more about creating an atmosphere just of learning and of her knowing how to learn and being excited about learning, rather than burning her out at the ripe old age of 4.
And why do you think that is? I mean, we were even talking about it. You were talking about maybe doing fun school. But it's funny that we even have to call it fun school. I mean, I don't even know if we'd have these conversations, 50 years ago. I mean, because nobody put their kid in school at 4. Yeah. But it's like we have to defend our, reason for doing what we think is best. Why? I mean, is it more so now? Do you think because of social media and people posting all these things?
Yeah, I think it's hugely social media. I think we see it easily. I mean, I think when Pinterest came along, with all of the cute craft ideas and activities and printables. I think we instantly started thinking, oh, I should be doing that. I'm not doing that. I need to start doing it. I think like one good aspect of social media is like we have like access to almost like larger co-ops, like all these homeschoolers from all over the world homeschooling, but they're all good at different things, and we're really only seeing the things they're good at. One mom might be a craft mom, and that's what we're seeing, or one mom's an activity mom, and that's what we're seeing, or one mom's a nature study mom, and that's the only thing we're seeing. And so we don't see the normal mom who's good at one thing and struggles in other areas. We see all of the moms and just the things they're good at. And so we start feeling really like we're comparing ourselves in all of these areas and feeling like we're falling short in all of the areas. And so I think, feel just this need to work harder and strive harder. But I mean, I think mom felt that same pressure, even without social media. I think it's just more prevalent now because we see so much more of it. And it's,
Well, before you could
tip of
shut
our
it
finger
off, you
whenever
could
we
just
want.
leave the co-op and then you're at home in your own house. But now it's just constant, even
Yeah.
at your weakest moments, you're seeing it. I saw yesterday or today, or I don't know, sometime recently on Facebook. Somehow I got part of some Homeschool Anonymous kind of Facebook group that is recommending me posts and stuff. And it's good though, because it's just interesting to see what moms are saying out there. One of them said she was at her pediatrician with her child who's 5, and the lady's like, well, I noticed she isn't reading yet. I mean, what are you doing about that? Because that's definitely a concern, and she's like, I was just floored. Like, I just feel like such a failure, and all the comments, of course, were very encouraging in terms of like, you need to get a new pediatrician if someone's telling you your 5-year-old should be fluently reading, but there's people out there, who do that. And it is so, I mean, or Katherine, as you said, like parading. I mean, if you're parading your kid for that, I personally just think that is so sad, because I just don't think that should ever be our intentions, is to just be like bragging to show others of what, I personally just don't like that. But
I don't think, I would doubt in most cases that's truly the mom's intention. I think most of the time it comes from a place of insecurity. Like you're trying, maybe other
right.
moms are saying, oh, my kid did this, or, my
but it is
nephew
not
across the street built this trap.
Yeah, totally.
And it's so cool. And so you kind of feel the need to share what your kid's doing. And I don't think it's trying to brag. I think it's just insecurity. But then why do we all feel
well, yeah, but you're doing it to
areas?
build yourself up, not to build them up.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
regardless of if you're trying to be, like, oh, I'm the greatest ever. Because I do agree, most people are doing it to build, because they do feel inadequate. So they're like, well, here's something I can feel adequate about. Totally get the natural desire. Everyone feels that to some extent, in some way probably. But it's something that really I feel a lot of that way. I wish if I could just snap my fingers and remove anything, I think that might be one of the things I would remove first, would just be, I just wish people didn't have that feeling. And I'm not saying I don't, I'm saying including myself. No, just this desire of, I need to put myself up so that others will think I am better, and it's just like, I just wish we all didn't have to worry so much about what everyone else thinks, but it's tough,
that's the point of the Smiling Homeschooler, because we don't put up the best, we put up our normal. Which feels like the worst, but it has so much value to others. I just felt like even sometimes, like when we're at a sporting events, I told my wife, sometimes I feel like my job is to encourage other parents by cheering loudly for their children, because I want them to hear out of my mouth, good job, whatever. But how about we close on this? I got an email, and Ben read it, I think Katherine read it, from a mom in Nebraska, and it was just so encouraging to me. And I hope it's encouraging to you. And she just wrote, hi, Todd. I homeschool our 4 kids in a small Nebraska town. We had the joy of hearing you speak a few years ago at our conference. Our second daughter, and I won't tell you their names, but was thinking of not going to college after high school. She wanted to continue working for our city's Parks and Rec department until God brought her a man to marry. I struggled with this. As a mom, I wanted my daughter to aim higher than a city job. I'm all for her getting married and having a family, but it's the in-between time that's hard to navigate and steer. I enjoy listening to you and Ben on your Smiling Homeschooler podcast. You did an episode a while back on your son and his desire to do 3D printing. I'm remembering you being so proud of him and his unconventional route of navigating the in-between. or your daughter who wanted to do nails and then that didn't work out. You and your wife were so supportive and proud of them. So I thought things through and prayed and chatted with my daughter and what it would look like for her to stay home, stay working for the city after high school. And in October of 2025, her senior year, the Lord took her home in a car accident. The Lord has been so good to prepare us for what he has for us. Both she and I were both in agreement on our post-high school plans. My relationship with my daughter was not strained as she left the house that morning. Thank you for being honest and a real homeschool dad. Thank you for always putting emphasis on the relationship before the books. Thanks for encouraging us to think outside the box. We know God is overall and that he uses people. He used you, Ben, and your podcast encourages moms everywhere. So anyway, I just hope you're encouraged by that email and that you're encouraged by Katherine and my other amazing son, Ben. I guess Catherine's not a son, but and it's not to make you feel like, oh, look at Todd's great kids. Because really, these are not even my kids.
That's right.
Gotta have Sam on.
My other ones are way better. But, we are just a normal family that's mean to each other more often than we'd like to be. But I hope we're real. And I thank you for being part of the Smiling Homeschooler. I'm excited about the future with Katherine, and I'm just hoping I can work myself out of this one day and they can take over and have the kingdom. But have a great week, Mom. And I hope you smile because you have lots of reasons to smile.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. And again, the book that is based on, or that the personality test is kind of, I should rephrase that. Dad wrote a book that is based on the personality test. Should be up on the website here soon. So if keep an eye on the website, smilinghomeschooler.com for that. It's a great resource and I think a really fun thing to go through with a homeschool group as well, or maybe give as a gift to another mom or something like that. But also, again, we want to thank Teaching Textbooks for making this possible. They help thousands of homeschoolers smile each and every day. If you haven't checked them out, you should over at teachingtextbooks.com. And again, thank you to Samaritan Ministries and Redeem Health Share, where members are committed to honoring Christ and serving one another through healthcare needs. As Dad likes to say, we love, use, and recommend Samaritan Ministries, and you can learn more in the show notes about Redeem Health Share by Samaritan Ministries. But everyone have a great week, and we'll see you next week, and don't forget to smile.